movieweb.com.
One of the things I really loved about this movie was that it avoided a lot of the cliches that you've seen in prison films. And as far as selling a man who was just defending his family, throwing into the most horrifying situation, pulls it off brilliantly. I mean, how did you prepare for that role and prepare to be the innocent man in the middle of all these murderers and killers and rapists and so on?
Well, I think that's what was so effective about the screenplay, you know, and how lucky I was to have Rick Waugh, who, you know, somebody I want to work with again. I mean, he just gave me an immense amount of information. I mean, he was so prepared. He spent about 2 years while he was writing the script in all these prisons. He even got credentials, I think, one notch below a parole officer. I mean, he was so kind of PR'd his way into this world that he really saw a bunch of guys like Wade Porter. He saw young guys that weren't anywhere near what was in there, being thrown in there, seeing things, you know, talking to parolees, talking to people that have been institutionalized, young guys. And then, like what you said, which I've been saying in a lot of these interviews, what's great about the film is that it, you know, it is real, you know, with the exception of a few principal actors. Everybody in that prison is a parolee or somebody that's been institutionalized. So when I'm sitting there in between shots, having a cup of coffee, you know, I'm talking to a guy that's younger than me, that's been in, you know, Corcoran prison, or been in Statesville, or been in these prisons, you know. So not only were the faces and the vibe so much more real, but they were associating themselves and really kind of praising Rick on how real some of these situations were, you know. And just to be able to ask my director a question and always be able to get a true answer is pretty amazing, you know, to have that confidence in your director, you know, as opposed to, you know, feeling like we're doing a Hollywood kind of prison movie, which, you know, we've seen before, and you know, you have rappers or this famous guy in this scene, and it's like, whoa, there's Ludacris in that scene, and there's that guy, and whoa, wasn't he in that? This movie doesn't have that, you know. This movie is really more felt like a documentary when we shot it, when we made it, and I'm just really proud of the film. I mean, everybody was saying, well, you got to see the film, you got to see the film, and I've been shooting for the last 5 months. And I knew, I didn't really need to see the film. I know what we made. I knew we made something strong, you know, but to see it all put together, to see how the edit is between the emotion of the family mixed with the fighting, but the, you know, the violence of the film, that's very realistic, but it doesn't overdo the violence. You know, it's very just beautifully edited, I think, and I just think Rick did such a great job. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it really avoids all the kind of the Hollywood prison cliches, but I think it also speaks to this other kind of like nasty secret about what's going on in America. We have more people in prison than any other society, and there's very little rehabilitation being done. So when you were on set and you were filming with these guys, I mean, it's like is it a pure gladiator school? Does anybody feel like they're getting any kind of rehab coming out of prison?
I mean, I think so. I think the idea is they don't want to be in there, you know. I mean, some of the young guys that, you know, and if we watched the film together, I could point out, oh, that guy was my age and he was in this prison. And, you know, in talking to them, I mean, I think, and then actually in, you know, it was a tricky thing, because it was like, I meet people on a movie, I become friends with people. I don't really look at who people are, you know. And on this film, I was working with a lot of people that were institutionalized and have done some intense things. So it was that walking that fine line of, do I want to give this guy my number, or do I kind of want to be his friend and try to help him, because I want to see him not go back to prison. You know, I started to have feelings, not, you know, I mean, you know, just because of the character I think I was playing, because of the world in which I learned about, you know, getting the real thing from the real guys that have been there, that have been stomped on and had their head stomped on and been in, you know, the infirmary for 3 weeks, been sent to the hole, been able to only go to the yard 1 hour a day, you know, for the, you know, for 6-7 years, you know. It was intense, you know, but I had to walk that fine line, you know, because at the same time, these guys were, you know, there is a change in them. And so, you know, when you are institutionalized, no matter how much you want to become, snap back and be a normal guy, you know, if you've done that much time, it's kind of hard to snap back. It's kind of hard to, you know, whether you're going to be a loose cannon, or if you're going to get drunk one night and you're going to, you know, get into a fist fight, boom, he's going right back in, you know. I mean, it's just a different world, you know. What I did learn most importantly is you don't want to go to prison, you know. You don't want to. You don't want to make. You got to think about those things before you make that mistake. You know, Wade made a mistake in the middle of a situation where he had every right to kind of take a baseball bat and probably hit this guy. He was in his house. He threw him into the kitchen wall, but he didn't really, because the guy didn't have a gun. he was not in his property anymore, and he should have been stayed inside and made a phone call. But who thinks about those things when the adrenaline's pumping and it's the middle of the night and somebody's in your kid's room? I mean, it's, if anything, the movie really kind of, I think, puts you into that world, and you start thinking about your own life, and that's what's so kind of scary about the film, but in a real educational way. So, you know, you definitely, you know, it's hell in there. I mean, the rules, the way in which they operate, the way in which the gangs operate, the race, it's hell.
That is the enemy down there, officer. You show any weakness, and they will send you a message.
Your life is defined by a single action. You change the concept of time.
Whether you like it or not, you going into that yard, and one of you ain't coming out alive.
Felon.